Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah, Sada Shiva Samarambham, Shankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmadacharya Paryantam, Vande Guru Parampara. Last time uh, we had reached up to the fourth mantra of the first chapter. Yad vacha anabhyuditam yena vag abhyudate tadeva brahmatvam vidhi na idam yadidam upasate. So to the disciples' question, Kena, by whom all the senses function, the Rishi of this Upanishad, the preceptor, the Guru, gave a very vague answer. What was that? Shotrasya Shotram, Manasaha Manaha, Yad Vachaha Vacham, Sau Pranasya Pranaha, Chakshuhu, the Chakshuhu, Atimucha Dhiraha, Pretya Asmat Lokat, Amruta Bhavanti. So, this is kind of a very evasive answer. The question by the disciple was that, powered by what or by whom does the eye see, the ears hear, the mind feels, thinks, and so on, the prana functions. So, and the speech also, the power of speech. And here, of course, the master of this particular Upanishad says it is the ear of the ear, eye of the eye, prana of the prana, mind of the mind, speech of the speech. Well, nothing can be comprehended by such an answer. And then he says that Atimucha dhiraha pretya asmat lokat amruta bhavanti. So, these are all the sense organs and the mind. So, the one who transcends sense organs means is related to the sense objects. So, one who transcends or overcomes the pull of the senses, the sense objects in the external world. So, then such a dhira, such a brave, wise one, he transcends this and attains immortality. Amruta bhavanti. So, now this type of answer, first thing is that the disciple must have understood that, of course, for any perception we need the sense organs, the object of perception, and of course the ability to ability of perception, capability, faculty. And then one has to grow out of this, one has to rise above that. At the present moment in time, our mind is extrovert. It has been designed like that. It is very difficult to make the mind introvert. It is bahirmukh most of the time. Antarmukh is very rare. And after saying so, the master says that once you rise above that, rising above that means turning the mind inwards, making it antarmukha from bahirmukha. So when it is made antarmukha, then only one attains to immortality. Rising above this. So in short, there has to be vairagya from viveka. As a result of viveka, there has to be vairagya. Otherwise, it is very difficult to walk this path. Vairagya has to be there. Without vairagya, nothing can be attained, especially on the path of self-realization. Then in the third mantra, it clarifies further why the answer was a little evasive type, vague answer. So that was, he clarifies, na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vag gacchati, na manaha, na vidmaha, na vijanimaha. Yatha etad अनुशिष्यात अन्यद एव तद विदितात अथ अविदितादधि इति शुश्रुम पूर्वेशाम ये नस्तद व्याचचक्षिरे. So now, why the answer was kind of vague? Because na tatra chakshur gacchati, eyes cannot go there. Eyes cannot go there because all the senses are illumined by the same substratum, the Supreme Self. So therefore, Supreme Self, the pure Self, Shuddha Atma, can't be understood or known through the senses, by the senses. So therefore, na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vag gacchati, the speech. So, nor the mind. So all these three, all the sense organs, now only whether it is organs of perception or organs of action, Jnanendriya and Karmendriya, or the mind intellect equipment. The mind also cannot go there because mind itself is enlivened by that Supreme Self. So, it is very difficult. And we have seen in our last session with the perception of sense organs is something about that which is manifest. Manifest, unmanifest. For the sense organs to perceive something that is unmanifest is not possible. Manifest things it can perceive. With the mind, person can imagine of that which is unmanifest. Imagination with the help of the mind. But the reality is actually beyond neither manifest or unmanifest. Beyond the cause and the effect. As effect is always the manifest and the cause is unmanifest. And of course, beyond the known and the unknown, above the unknown, it is not known and above the unknown. So when it is said it is beyond the known and the unknown, or it cannot be known and it is above the unknown, then what is left is only the pure self, which powers which enlivens the knower. So that is the supreme reality. So therefore, and then it is, one cannot say that we know it or one doesn't know. The master says that one doesn't know how to instruct anyone about it. So, na vidmaha, we do not know that. Na vijanimaha, how to instruct anybody about it. And then, of course, it is distinct from the known and the unknown. Tad aviditat atha, tad viditat atha aviditat adhi. And then this knowledge has come from that Guru Shishya Parampara. So the Rishi says that iti shushrum purvesha. We have heard it from the ancient, from the great masters, from the lineage of great masters, purvesha. And that is how it was taught to us. Ya naha tat vyacha chakshire. So now this supreme reality, the absolute truth, the thing is that it cannot be produced from somewhere. It cannot be rejected. It is not gained also. It is not lost also. It cannot be rejected also. Because that is our very essential nature, of true nature. So this Brahma Vidya is, of course, very different, and Mana Buddhi equipment, the mind and intellect equipment, has got limitations. So at certain point in time, of course, mind intellect equipment has to be used on the spiritual path also, but it has got a limitation to a certain extent. After that, even we have to transcend that to realize the truth. So, intuitive knowledge, intuition is required. All the usual methods of acquiring knowledge through the sense organs, mind and intellect doesn't work in realizing the absolute truth, the pure self. Then, having said this, in the fourth mantra, generally it comes as a bombshell for those who have been following the Bhakti Marga, Bhakti Yoga. But this needs to be understood properly. So there is no misunderstanding, no confusion regarding it. Yad vacha anabhyuditam, yena vak abhyutyate, tadeva brahmatvam vidhi, na idam yad idam upasate. So now that absolute truth can be spoken of with the conditionings, sopadik. It can be explained or made to understand through the conditionings only, indicated or explained or indicated or made to understand as a conditioned truth, conditioned Brahman, or conditioned self, conditioned Atma, not in the pure state. That is not possible. We have seen some examples also last time. There is a difference between sun's reflection and the sun itself. All that is idam is, of course, an Atma Vastu. So in idam comes not only all the external things and beings, names and forms, but including our own gross physical body, the sense organs, the mind, intellect equipment also comes in the purview of idam. And therefore, they are all anatma. So, absolute can never be associated with any upadhi or any conditioning. So, it is always formless. Na tatra chakshur gacchati, when it is said, where the eyes cannot reach, their eyes can reach only that which has got colors and forms. That which is beyond the colors and forms, eyes cannot perceive. Ears have the limitation limited to only sound. That which is beyond sound and silence, the ears cannot perceive. So, and the speech as again has got limitations. That which has got no form, no color, no attributes, cannot even be named. Forget about describing it in words. So, yad vacha anabhuditam, where the speech cannot reveal it, but that which powers the speech to reveal about everything else. So that has to be Brahman. Now, we have taken the example of how to the Sopadik. Sopadik Brahman. Now, the example given was that electricity and the bulb. The bulb is, of course, the conditioning through which electricity expresses itself. Neither the bulb is electricity, nor the filament in that bulb, nor the glow in the bulb, the light which it gives. None of these is electricity. But without electricity, the existence of bulb is useless, and there cannot be the glow or the light also. Now, for a layperson who doesn't know anything about electricity and things like that, the bulb is explained, you see the light in that bulb. Yes. So that light in that bulb is possible through something called as electricity. Without electricity, this light is not possible. So try to understand that electricity without the conditioning of the bulb. So it is not easy to comprehend that. For a person, for a lay person, it is difficult who doesn't know anything about these things. So here the conditioning is given. Now, having said that, here the master says that tad eva brahmatvam vidhi na idam yad idam upasate. Understand that alone to be Brahman. Now here, that which powers the speech and that which the speech cannot describe. The speech cannot describe, indicate, or point out. So that alone know to be Brahman and not that which is worshipped. Now, when this is said, of course, an ardent devotee will be upset listening to this. Nedam yadidam upasate. I have been worshipping Lord Rama, Lord Krishna, Lord Shiva, Lord Ganesha, and the goddess and all that thing. And here it is said that this is not. So, what has to be understood? If that is the truth, why has Sanatan Dharma and our text promoted gods and goddesses and their worship, idol worship? So, this is very important because our sages, ancient sages and masters, they realize that each and every one of us is a unique specimen. Though all of us are human beings with 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 arms, legs, and so on. But then, if we minutely observe, there are differences in our physical, mental, and intellectual capacities and abilities. This is very easy to comprehend. Physical capacity of each and every one of us will be different. Similarly, our mental abilities, whether we are over emotional, balanced in emotion, or less emotional, or outright no emotions, or people called as hard-hearted. At the intellectual level also, some are geniuses, some are brilliant, some are above average intelligent, below average intelligent, and then some are outright duffers. Now, if all these type of people have to be guided to realize the self, will any one method work? No. In a classroom, also in a school, if there are 50 students, somebody will stand first and somebody will be last also. All of them cannot stand first. And therefore, if we say that all of them have to become chartered accountants or engineers or doctors and things like that, no. Somebody will become a CA, somebody will become a doctor, somebody will become an engineer, and somebody will become a plumber, somebody will become just a clerk, or somebody will become a teacher, and somebody will do the laborer's job. Physical capacity, mental capacity, intellectual capacity is different. And they'll take to the professions according to their own abilities to earn their livelihood. And a variety is, of course, required if the world has to run. But then, when it comes to spirituality, all of them without exception have to be guided. None of them should be left out. This is very important. And this we find only in Sanatana Dharma. Unlike in other religions where there is only one book, one path, one technique, one method, and if somehow we don't fit into that, then we are lost. But here, each and every one of us has got a path. A technique is given, whichever is easy to follow. Slowly, we rise above that. So, therefore, though Shruti Mata is the highest, Upanishad is the highest, Vedanta is the highest, but a provision has been given. There is a purpose behind that. It is not possible otherwise. And everybody has to be included on this spiritual journey. There should be no exception. Nobody should be left out. Whatever the person's physical, mental, or intellectual capacities may be. So therefore, our rishis have wisely thought about it. And therefore, they have marked out various paths. And one of them is worship the gods and goddesses. In the Vedic period, of course, these gods and goddesses were not there. Then Vyasji, out of his love, and he wrote the Puranas for this purpose. Now, why do we need a form to worship? An idol is required to worship. Because as long as we are identified with a form, our own body, we cannot conceive of an absolute truth which is without form, without name, without colors, without qualities. It is very difficult for a common man to conceive that. So then a form is given, but the form actually represents an ideal. The idol represents an ideal. Initially, out of ignorance, the idol is worshipped as a representation of that supreme absolute truth in the name of some deity. But then focus should slowly shift towards what ideals the idol stands for. The gunas, the qualities. So Prabhu Ramchandraji's idol is there. And he is known as Maryada Purush. Why is he known as Maryada Purush? What are the qualities that stands out? So, admiring the idol of Lord Rama while worshipping, while doing puja, focus should shift from the form of that Lord Rama to the gunas of that Lord Ram, the deity, the gunas, the qualities. So, idol represents an ideal. It is very difficult for an ordinary mind to conceive of something infinite without the forms or the attribute or anything like that. It is difficult. So that infinite has to be brought down to the finite level. And how can we do that? That is done through the worship of a form, worship of an idol. Initially, of course, people are instructed to install a deity and then worship that, do the puja and all that thing. Then as they progress on that, then the interest ignites. I am worshipping this deity. What is the story of this deity? What are the gunas of this deity? I need to know. I need to know all the leelas, the story behind it. And slowly the mind moves from the form towards the gunas, the qualities, the ideals represented by that form. So, therefore, initially that Sagun Sakar Upasana is told. Sagun Sakar Upasana is easier as long as we are identified thoroughly with our own form. Identified with a particular form, our own form, we cannot conceive of something which is Sagun Nirakar. Forget about Nirgun Nirakar. Even Sagun Nirakar we cannot conceive. So it comes easy to worship in Sagun Sakar. And as we advance, as we slowly start losing in the worship time, when we lose the awareness of our own form, and then transcend the form of our deity also, and focus on all the qualities, the gunas, then the focus shifts from Sagun Sakar to Sagun Nirakar. This is an evolution. It doesn't come overnight. It takes many years, maybe many lives of evolution on the path to the higher reality, to the absolute truth. So, from Sagun Sakar to Sagun Nirakar we go. Then, going beyond the Akara and Guna, then from Rama, Sagun Sakar to Rama Tattva, from Krishna Sagun Sakar to Krishna Tattva, from Shiva Sagun Sakar to Shiva Tattva, the essence. And that is how we go. So initially, that which is required, then that is discarded slowly. In Sanatan Dharma, as we rise higher and higher in our evolution, in our sadhana, slowly the practices that we were doing when we started on the spiritual path, they will drop off of its own accord. When it gets dropped off, we will not even know. It will drop off of its own accord as we rise and progress on the spiritual path. So from Sagun Sakar to Sagun Nirakar, from Sagun Nirakar going beyond the form and the attributes, to the essence, to the Tattva. So that is how the progress has to be. So now this Nedam Yadidam Upasate is told to whom by Shruti Mata? It is not told to a bhakta. It is told to a sadhaka who has come to a master to ascertain that unknown power. Because this sadhaka must have been very familiar with the worship and upasana of the deities and things like that. The very fact that he has approached the master with these questions, what is it that powers it? He has gone beyond that thinking about the Sagun Sakar and Sagun Nirakar. Now he wants different answers. So therefore, he is a sadhaka, a Vedantic sadhaka, come on the spiritual path So here he is told about it, not to a bhakta, ardent devotee who is worshipping the form. He is not told this. So it has to be understood that this is not a general statement for everyone. This is specifically pointed out to that seeker who has come on this path, on the path of non-dual reality, on the path of Vedanta, who has approached that. So then he is told, and he has been familiar with other forms of worship and upasana, other type of sadhana. He himself must have done that also. And then he has come with this inquiry to the master. And he is told about it. Nedam yadidam upasate. Not to any bhakta who is doing the worship, he is not told to stop it. Nedam yadidam upasate. This is not the absolute truth. No, that is absolutely wrong. So that worship is required. That Sagun Sakar worship is required for our own evolution. Cannot give up as long as we are identified with the form. A form is required as a support for the wandering mind. You see, even with the form in our puja room, when we go for puja, morning time, we have decided a particular time we have allocated for puja. When we go there, we enter the puja room. The form is also there. Our favorite deity's form is there. We worship that form. We do puja. Now, this form is there to tie down the mind in the puja room. How many times our mind wanders out of the puja room while doing this puja, while doing this upasana, while doing this worship? You see? So, this is for ekagrata. Upasana is for focusing the mind, to make the mind single-pointed, to increase the shraddha, to increase the bhakti, to increase prema. And that will help the mind to focus, to be single-pointed. And then it will help the mind to understand the scriptures also. So for that purpose, it is there. The purpose of upasana, one has to understand very clearly. It is there to make our mind single-pointed, to purify our mind. Upasana is not an end in itself. This should be very clear. So slowly, when we progress from Sagun Sakar to Sagun Nirakar, somebody told that we don't worship, we don't do idol worship. I said, okay, if you don't do idol worship, that is fine. But do you lose your identity with the body when you are at your prayers? Yes, should be. The only test is that when you are at your prayer, whether you have lost identity with your body or not, the only way to know is that to put a needle in your body and to see the reaction. If the body reacts, that means you have not lost identity with the body. The one who is in samadhi, even if his head is chopped off, will not know. Because the ego has dissolved, he has gone beyond the mind and intellect, there is no identity with the body. So it is very easy to say we don't worship idols and things like that. But are you qualified to worship something that is beyond the idol? If we have a strong identity with our own form, it is very difficult to conceive with an absolute without form. And without attributes, it is even more difficult. Just Sagun Nirakar itself is difficult. Nirgun Nirakar is way beyond it. So one has to understand this. Our Sanatan Dharma is a university where a person can come on the spiritual path in the play school and then going through the nursery and junior KG and primary section, middle school, high school, graduation, post-graduation, right up to PhD. Slowly. So this is very important. Nobody is left out on this glorious path. Everybody has been given. Something is there for everyone to follow, so that with that practice, they can progress further and come on the path. Then, beyond that, go to that tattva. The infinite is brought down to the finite level, and then we progress from the form to the gunas, from the gunas to the tattva. And beyond that, when we go, there is no Vedantin and there is no Bhakta. This has to be understood very clearly. Because Vedantin and Bhakta together are perfect. In the ultimate realization of the self, both the identities of a Vedantin and of a Bhakta both get dissolved. And what remains is only the pure self, not a Vedantin or a Bhakta. None of it remains. Whether there are only two paths to realization of self, path of knowledge, Jnana Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. All the other yogas are only Sahayak, assist in these two paths. And ultimately both end at the same destination. So the identity of a Vedantin and that of a Bhakta both get dissolved. What remains is only the pure self. So there should be no confusion and no fear, no confusion, no resentment also, whether one is a Vedantin or one is a Bhakta. Absolutely not. So this should be very clear when it is said, Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate. This instruction is for whom it is given? Not for an ordinary Bhakta who is engrossed in the worship of his favorite deity. To him it is not said. It is to the one who has come on this path of inquiry. To such a one, Shruti Mata tells him. So there should be no confusion here. Then of course, in the next mantra, mantra 5, Yan manasa na manute, yena ahu manah matam, tadeva brahmatvam vidhi, nedam yadidam upasate. So, yan manasa na manute, yena ahu manah matam, tad eva brahmatvam vidhi, na idam yadidam upasate. What the mind cannot feel, ahu manah manute. So what mind cannot feel, yan manasana manute, but because of which the mind can feel, the ability to feel comes in the mind because of that. So understand that to be the absolute truth, Brahman, not that which is worshipped. Again, it is repeated. Now, sense organs are, of course, limited to their respective fields of perception. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, the sound, sense of touch, sense of colors and forms, then a taste and smell. So they are limited to that only, each and every. Whereas the mind is functional in all the sense organs. Without the mind, there is no comprehension. So mind has to be connected to the sense organ. So mind knows all the five sense perception. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. Whereas the ear can only hear the sound, it cannot see. Eyes can see colors and forms, it cannot hear or smell or taste. But the mind knows all the sense perception. So, but then it cannot comprehend its own source. On what it functions, what elements the mind, what enables the mind to perceive through the sense organs. So that cannot be comprehended by the mind. Our ancient rishis, when they were analyzing their own self, they started from the gross form, from the body, they entered into the sense organs, and then the pranas, the mind, the intellect equipment, and so on. So, to find what it is that is behind all that, and then they came to this conclusion that because of Chit, or the pure consciousness, Chit, pure consciousness, that is the most important. Because of the Chit, or the pure consciousness, or the pure self, everything functions. You see? So, otherwise, these are all inert. The gross physical body, the sense organs, they are formed from the gross aspects of the food that is consumed. The subtle body, that is the pranamaya, manomaya, and vijnanamaya kosha, the pranas, the mind and the intellect, they are the subtle body. The subtle part of the food that is consumed goes into the formation of this subtle body. And therefore, mind, intellect, equipment, they are also product of the food only, inert, insentient, unless it is enlivened by this consciousness. So, the flow of thought, called the mind, is of course closer to the Supreme Self, or closer to the center, we can say, compared to the gross body. Compared to the gross body, compared to the sense organs, compared to the pranas, the mind intellect equipment is closer to the center, comparatively. But yet it is nowhere near knowing that center, that reality. Because the swabhava of the mind is bahirmukha. Unless it becomes antarmukha, there is no progress. As long as the mind is bahirmukha, going continuously out, there is no progress. Forget about the path of knowledge. Even in Bhakti Yoga also, if the mind is bahirmukha, a bhakta will not be able to, the so-called bhakta will not be able to focus on his deity, if his mind is also bahirmukha. In the puja room also, his mind will keep wandering outside the puja room. So for a bhakta, his mind should not leave the puja room. In the entire duration of that puja, whether it is a few minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever it may be, during that entire duration, the mind has to be confined to the puja room in general and on the deity in particular. So this Bahirmukhi man is the stumbling block, is the obstacle. And because of this Bahirmukhi man, we miss the source of that reflected light. Consciousness is reflected in our intellect. Intellect is the equipment in which the consciousness is reflected. And the source of that reflection we miss because of Baharimukha, mind. Unless the mind becomes Antarmukha, it's not possible. So, but as soon as we turn inwards, the mind is turned inwards, facing the very entity that powers it, then the mind is also lost. And the mind also doesn't function. Mind also doesn't know. Like the example that Gurudev often gives, that a person who is driving his car, he cannot, while he's driving, he cannot come under his car. Suppose he wants to come under his car, he'll have to get out of the car. As soon as he gets out of the car, then car will stop. And he goes in front of the car and nothing happens. The car stops functioning. So when the mind is turned inwards, antarmukha, towards the source, then that also doesn't function. So, all the, of course, we do get mental visions during our upasana time, during meditation time. Sometimes some deities give us darshan. Sometimes in the dreams also, we get darshan of some our Ishta Bhagwan, Ishta Devta, or some great saints and masters. We have darshan in the dream. Or while we are into meditation, we get that also, visions of deities and all that thing. But again, those are visions only, projections of the mind. Those are visions. We get it. No need to get overexcited about it. If you get it, it's good. Instead of getting some other vision, getting the vision of the deities or great saints, sages, and masters is no doubt good. But then our mind, it is a mental projection. Visions are there. It is not the supreme reality. So therefore, the important thing is that we have to go beyond that. If some of you may remember, we did Vivek Chudamani. Of course, it was many years ago, you may say. And we obviously live in the present moment, so we don't live in the past or the future. So if we don't remember anything about the past and we don't want to bother about the future or the present moment. But in this Vivek Chudamani, 10 shlokas are given in that, which is good for meditation. From verse 254 shloka to 263, 10 shlokas are there. The 254 shloka, the first shloka in the series of this 10 shloka, it says, Jati niti kula gotra duragam nama rupa guna dosha varjitam desha kala vishayati varti yad brahma tattvamasi bhavayatmani. So, jati, niti, kula, gotra, away from that. None of this is that supreme reality. No caste, creed, lineage, jati, niti, kula, gotra, nama, rupa, guna, dosha, varjitam. There is no name, there is no form, there is no gunas, no qualities. Guna, dosha, merits and demerits. It is all not there. Nama, rupa, guna, dosha, varjitam. Desha, kala, vishaya, varjitam. Desha, kala, beyond the space, time, and objects. Brahma tattvamasi bhavaya. So beyond the space, not limited by space, not limited by time, not limited by object, not limited by any causation. So jati, niti, kula, gotra, desha, kala, nama, rupa, guna, dosha, desha, kala, vishaya, none of it. Brahma tattvamasi bhavaya. So we have to revisit Vivek Chudamani from Shlok 254 to 263. It is good for meditation. In fact, these 10 shlokas we should know and we should learn it by heart. So it can, whenever we sit for meditation, we can use that also. That will help us. So, this supreme reality is beyond the mind. In this particular mantra, what the master says is that the supreme reality, earlier it was told that it is beyond the speech, beyond all the senses. Now it is also beyond the mind. Mind cannot reach there. Na tatra chakshur gacchati na mana. Now, having said that, then a similar thing is repeated in the next mantra, mantra 6. Yat chakshusha na pashyati yena chakshumsi pashyati tad eva brahmatvam viddhi nedam yadidam upasate. So what the eyes cannot see, but by which the eyes are able to see, know that to be Brahman, not what is being worshipped. Nedam yadidam upasate. Of course, the eye is the golaka, is just the instrument, but the seer through the eyes is someone different. So it has to be different from the eyes. The seer has to be different from the eyes. So that is the Shuddha Chaitanya, other than the eyes, which helps the eyes to perceive. Without the presence of that, the perception is not possible. Then, in the next mantra, again, the same thing is repeated, mantra 7. Yat shrotrena na shrunoti, yena shrotam idam shrutam, tadeva brahmatvam viddhi, nedam yadudam upasate. So, when earlier it was told that what the eyes cannot see, that which powers the eyes to see, that which enables the eyes to see, that is Brahman. So when it is said so, that means that absolute truth is beyond the form and colors, because eyes can see form and colors, and that which powers the eyes to see form and colors, so that entity has to be beyond form and colors. It has got nothing to do with form and colors. Now here it is said that principle which helps the ears to hear the sound, without which the ears cannot hear, know that to be Brahman. Now here also, when it is said that that which powers the Shrotrendriya, or the organs of hearing, to enable it to hear, that means this absolute truth is also beyond sound. So it is beyond sound, beyond the colors and forms. So know that to be Brahman and not what is being worshipped. Then the last mantra in this particular chapter, first chapter, Yat pranena na praniti, yena prana praniyate, tadeva brahmatvam viddhi nedam yadidam upasate. So this prana, vayu that is going on, the respiratory process that is going on, that which is not possible, this process is going on, that which makes this respiratory process possible. Yena prana praniyate. This is possible. Know that to be Brahman, not what is established. Now here, a few examples also Gurudev has given here. The example is that, one example, that the quality of iron is not heat. Iron rod is there. If it is kept outside, in the cold weather, it will become very cold. In the sunlight, it will become warm. And if it is put in the fire, then it will glow like fire, red hot iron rod. And if it is heated even further, it becomes white hot iron rod until it starts melting. So now, this glow that has come in the iron, it is not its own quality. It is a borrowed quality, borrowed from fire. So it is not its own. Like another example also we can take. But then iron appears to be something fiery. But after some time, when the heat goes off, then it again becomes the same black iron rod. Similarly, if some iron filings are kept on the paper and a magnet is used below the paper to move around, the iron filings will appear to dance on that. So this dancing in the iron filing is not of its own. It is not capable of doing that. Remove the magnet and it will be still. It is because of that magnet it is dancing around. Even a wire is there, it is not capable of giving us any shock unless it is connected to a live circuit. And then if you touch that live wire, of course, it will give you shock. So wire in itself doesn't have electricity. It is incapable of giving a shock unless that electricity is flowing through it. Then only it can give a shock. So also all the senses and the consciousness, the Shuddha Chaitanya. The Shuddha Chaitanya has to power these senses. So now, throughout this, what is Rishi trying to say? Rishi is trying to explain, indicate, or point out that absolute truth with the help of the upadhis, the conditioning, because it cannot be spoken of without conditioning. Last time we have seen the example of from Param Puja Gurudev's life himself, when Taponji Maharaj was talking of this Sopadik Shuddha Chaitanya, the absolute truth with conditioning was being empowered, expounded on. He said that why not give that without any conditioning? And then he said, okay, go and get water after some time. And then they brought water in a vessel, in a container. And of course, Tapanji Maharaj said that I asked you for water. Why did you bring the container? Why did you bring the vessel? So, water cannot be conveyed without that container or vessel. So also this is a simple example. You cannot stretch it too far, but this is from the gross physical world we are talking about. So also this absolute truth, the pure self, that cannot be spoken of without conditioning. If an explanation has to be given, then it has to be given with the help of conditioning only, upadhis only. Without upadhi, it is very difficult to comprehend. So now the comprehension will be that, okay, so that by which this upadhi, this conditioning is functioning, that is the absolute truth. Only this much we have understood. But what that thing is, that we have not understood. So for the time being, only this is what is understood. So Sopadik Atma, or the conditioned self, is only explained here. So this pure Atma is still unknown. As the sun can't be known through its reflection. So also, Guru only arranges the so-called images or using the upadhis to explain that workings of the senses. So reflected image in the terms of the workings of the senses, etc. Senses, mind, intellect, and so on, the pranas. The Shrutis, of course, they do the same thing. The face-to-face darshan is not possible. In non-dual reality, it is impossible. So only conditioned Atma so far is indicated. So the electricity is indicated through the Upkaran, the electrical instruments. In the Vyavaharik Satya, or what we call as the relative reality. So this is what in the first chapter the master has conveyed to the question that was put to him by the seeker who has come to him. So he has tried to explain to him, the seeker wants to know. He has not come to know the absolute truth, but he wants to know what powers it. So that is, he is seeking the absolute truth only. And now, throughout this first chapter, the master has explained to him through the upadhis, through the conditionings, and that which is the power behind all the conditioning, the perceptions of the conditioning, the senses and the mind, intellect, equipment, know that to be that absolute truth, that pure self. Further clarification will come up when we take up the next chapter, chapter 2. Now, if anybody has got any questions, they may ask.
Swamiji, I think we decided that everyone will have some question or some doubt to be expressed. So can I request, we have about 7, 8 participants, 9 participants. Raise their question, doubts, must have read last week and during the discourse of Swamiji. Some difficulty will be there.
Hari Om Swamiji, I have no doubts about what you said.
जो थारी राय सो मारी राय.
Absolutely no, not at all.
Prakash. Prakash.
I have to understand first.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Then I'll put a question.
Vimalji. Hari Om, Vimalji.
Hari Om.
Any question?
Not right now.
I, Swamiji, remember that very often you had said about Vivek Chudamani Shlok number 254 to 263.
Right.
About the meditation. Anyway, now Swamiji, the study of Kenopanishad is testing our patience. because we have come to Kenopanishad to find out the answer. In the school and the college days, we were addicted to guide. Not the textbook, but the guide, where the answers are given. Here we find that in Kenopanishad will provide all the material, but the ultimate analysis an individual has to do, Swamiji.
Yes.
Now, the discussion which is going on for last 3 sessions, including today's, I feel that we have reached the summit. And the last portion, if we can crack the Kenopanishad, we'll get intuition. Yogi Bhai had asked you this question about the intuition, not the last one before that. And you said that answer, that intuition will come. Now, as far as the intuition is concerned, Swamiji, my question is, in the study of Kenopanishad, the analysis that we have been doing for last 3 sessions, basically we are going from object to subject. We are going from making an attempt to go from paroksha bodh to aparoksha bodh. Now, how much intuition can help? Because once when I have traveled from paroksha to aparoksha, I do not have, or say object to subject, I do not have with me my gross body and subtle body, including the mind and the intellect. I travel up to Parokshabhut with the help of mind and intellect. And now I have to transcend or leave my mind and intellect. Now then, is it that intuition is not the part of mind, something higher and deeper because subject, we are not going to know by normal methods of knowledge that we are getting a secular knowledge. This is a special knowledge.
See,
I am that.
See,
So who realizes this?
See, the thing is that we have often heard about a sixth sense. People talking about the sixth sense, isn't it? We have got five sense organs, then we talk about the sixth sense. Then we also heard about this intuition also. See, the thing is that knowledge is nothing new. All the knowledge is there in this entire, in the cosmos as it is. No new knowledge is ever created. Intuitive intellect is what? When we are very single-pointed and turned inwards, and then, like all the great rishis, the masters, Upanishads, we don't find any author for Upanishads. They are called as revelations. When the great rishis were in deep meditation, they got revelations. You see, it has come from somewhere out. That knowledge was already existing. So that revelation came when the deep state of meditation. So this, even some scientists like Albert Einstein also, he says that whatever discoveries that I came across was not through the usual process of thinking. It came as a flash. It came as a revelation. It is not through the usual process of thinking. So, if it is not to the usual process of thinking, that means it is something beyond the intellect. That is something called as revelation. So, something related to that, one can say that to intuition or to the sixth sense and so on. But then, when we have already transcended the mind-intellect equipment, then we are directly into that alone. Intuition is beyond the intellect, something which is beyond the intellect, something which is not sixth sense, is something which is not grasped by the five sense organs. Intuition is something which is not grasped by the intellect. So something, an in-between stage, one can say, not exactly something like that, because once that happens, realization happens, then everything is out. Then what remains is that alone. So sometimes in certain experiences or certain knowledge, the word sixth sense or intuition, something is that is used for. But then it is again beyond that also. This is only a temporary thing for a purpose of understanding. That's all.
Swamiji,
Yes.
I feel that it's sent by God, supreme reality or whatever, the formed is God, which is he who is always there, eternal. जिसका अभाव कोई काल में नहीं होता है, जो मैं हूं. That I think intuition is part of that. Because the known sources are not available at that moment of when one gets the intuition. As Einstein, you said that Einstein said that it has come from somewhere. Now, this is not mine.
Not usual process of inquiry, thinking.
Yeah, even Swamiji, Chaya Mukherjee, she's a musician. And we made about 17, 18 devotional albums. And I was always there. So she will make, the singer will, she will make her to practice that, him or her. And then in the studio, something else comes to her mind.
So that has
And
come from somewhere out.
So she says, I don't know from where it has come. and whatever was practiced, she will change that. And so we'll ask her, okay, why did you change when so much singer has practiced? She says that it just now it has come. She always attributed to Baba. Okay, Baba has sent me this.
So, yeah, that could be attributed to intuition. I'll give another example. The very famous Sistine Chapel is there in Italy, and Michelangelo was asked to paint the ceiling of that Sistine Chapel. And then painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel is not easy. Some parts you have to literally lie down and paint. So Michelangelo, sometimes when he used to come to paint that, he'll go painting for 10, 12, 15 hours non-stop, without a break, no food, no drink, nothing. And after that, maybe for 10, 15 days, 20 days, he'll not be there to continue the work. Then again, one day he'll appear. And then again, he'll continue. And then the work was done. It was so beautiful, the painting on that ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Then he was told that there is another chapel, another church, another cathedral is there. Do a similar painting there. That time, these are Michelangelo's words. I was there, the brush was in my hand, the paint was there, but I didn't paint this. These are his words, Michelangelo's words. I didn't know how it came up. I was not there. Only my physical presence was there. How it happened, I don't know. So if you ask me to repeat it in any other place, I won't be able to do
it. Swamiji, there are two instances.
Another thing I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Bhagwan Shri Krishna told Arjuna Bhagavad Gita on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Of course, Arjuna didn't understand anything of that. Only he said that Nashto moham smritir labdhva karishye vachanam tava. He didn't understand that. After the Mahabharata war was over, he asked Krishna, you told me something on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Please tell me again. At that time, even Lord Krishna told him, I can't repeat it.
Swamiji.
Swamiji, may I ask something? Otherwise, he will keep asking questions. Yes, this, I wanted to tell you, long back I read a book. It is called, you mentioned once, Many Lives, Many Masters.
Many Lives, Many Masters, yes. By Dr. Brian Weiss.
Yes, and it clearly shows that we are born how many times, on every time. Today Satya Sai Baba, yesterday 100 years back Ramakrishna Paramahansa. In my life I'm talking about somebody else, they keep coming, and different lives and different lives. That means actual God is something abstract, it's not there. It has to, because Sai Baba once said to one gentleman who used to do what you call that, not black magic. He learned from some fakir, some magic which takes away misery of others. Nakaratmak, they say, no? They take away that thing. So Sai Baba called him and said that, what do you do? Why do you do this? So he said, Baba, I learned it from the fakirs, and I do it only for good. Only for good. I don't misuse it. So he said, okay, what do? You take that Nakaratma out, okay. And where does it go? So, I put them in the air. It goes in the air. So Baba told him, I'm talking about that person I spoken to, and he said it personally. Baba said, nothing can goes in the air. Some body has to take it. So every performance is God is through body. I do not know what I compose, but then he is playing through it and he is doing it. So that body has no form, nothing, infinite. And but it takes a form. You have to take a form. He has to, he said, Aham Bahushuvami. He said, no, many, many. That means he only takes the different form and shows it. So
Swamiji.
waiting for the day when we'll become that non-entity totally.
So it is now also the same absolute truth manifesting through millions and millions of forms. And the form is just a superimposition. The
Yes.
absolute truth is that. That's all that is there.
Yeah.
Swamiji,
Yes.
see, Rabindranath Tagore was given the Nobel Prize for Gitanjali, writing the poets, you know. So when he was asked, okay, how did you write? So he said that I have not written any of them. Somebody came and he wrote through me. This is what Rabindranath Tagore said. And now very recently, a sculptor who made the
Ram Lalla.
Ram Lalla. He next day when the opening was done, Pran Pratishtha, he was shocked to see Ram's face. He said, "This is not the face which I made." He said, "It is changed from what it was there yesterday or what I made it to be." So I think God, this gives ample proof that God watches this world and is behind this world, and one who does with lot of devotion and dedication. He is always there, Swamiji.
Yes.
And I think intuition is the thing which is related to we can attribute to the formless God, ultimate supreme reality.
Yes. That is there.
Anyway,
Swamiji,
yes.
Yeah.
So can I summarize that where logic ends, intuition begins in the form of spirituality seeking, and where intuition ends, realization happens.
Yes. You see, in fine arts, the best piece that comes out,
Right.
it is actually a meditation.
Right.
The painting of Michelangelo is a meditation.
Right.
The best music piece that comes out from a musician, it is a meditation.
Right.
The best painting that comes out from a painter, that is again a meditation.
Right.
Where the hands move and things happen.
Yeah.
And there is no individual doer thereof, as Lord Buddha says.
Right.
So the events happen, deeds are done, but there is no individual doer thereof.
And that is pre-programming.
Yeah. Yes. So shall we conclude now?
Yes, Swamiji.
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Harihi Om.